Fantastic. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the John R. Park Homestead Conservation Area. For everyone tuning in to watch from home today, a big welcome to you as well. We hope to see you in person later today for your personal tour of the Heritage and Conservation Centre. We do have some uninvited guests today. Well, actually, they're not too prevalent, thankfully. The fish flies. Thankfully, the wind has picked up, so we aren't so bombarded by them. I'm Tanya Jobin, Chair of the Essex Region Conservation Authority. We will begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Petitwani peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and all of the original peoples of Turtle Island. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Ms. Darlene Marshall, a member of the Caldwell First Nation and the Indigenous lead for the Windsor-Essex Catholic School Board, for her assistance in helping us to create this land acknowledgement several years ago, and for her continued partnership in helping us teach the more fulsome history of this region and beyond. At this time, I would ask that we observe a moment of silence in memory of the children who continue to be discovered in unmarked graves at the sites of former residential schools across Canada, and reflect on the lasting devastation caused by the institutional system and on our collective responsibilities to pursue the calls of action of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It is hard to believe that it was less than 1 year ago when we gathered as a small group to break ground for this community jewel. Last August, we thought a return to more normal times was just around the corner. But despite the ongoing challenges that our community and indeed the world has faced over this year and a half, that we were forced to make radical changes to almost everything we do. What's remained constant is the community's value of this special space. Nothing has evidenced that community value more than the incredible support from so many donors and contributors who have helped to turn this dream into a reality. The Toldo Foundation, whose support of so many initiatives across the Windsor-Essex region is legendary, is one of the champions who stepped forward with their incredible support of the Toldo Foundation outdoor classroom and wildlife viewing area. We are delighted today to welcome Mr. Alex Toldo, a trustee with the Toldo Foundation, to today's grand opening celebration, and welcome to offer some of his comments at this time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We're very pleased to be part of this. Based on what we've currently gone through in the past year and a half, I think it's appropriate that kids are able to come here and actually come outside and enjoy themselves at a learning center that is going to provide viewing area, teaching. I just think that's fantastic for our community. I think it's good for our children. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Alex. We are so incredibly grateful to you and the entire Toldo Foundation for your remarkable support. When we cut the ribbon on this accessible building in just a few minutes, the John R. Park Homestead Heritage and Conservation Centre will be open to provide significantly enhanced educational opportunities and visitor experiences and learners for guests of all ages. It will also centralize operations for flood forecasting and feature the Town of Essex Tourism Hub. To tell us more about this partnership, it's my pleasure to welcome Mayor Larry Snidely from the Town of Essex.
Thank you, Tanya. Good morning. Good morning to everybody. On behalf of Council and our community, I'd like to welcome you all from the Town of Essex. I'd like to give a special thanks to all the supporters and everybody that donated to this. It's just look at the building, look at the facility. It's beautiful. It's a chance to get kids out here, younger people, and educate them on our heritage. So it's great. To the members of Parliament, Eric Kuzmarachek, and the federal government's Canadian Experience Fund, thank you. To Stephanie and Barry Zuckelman Foundation, to the Toldo Foundation, thank you. To the estate of Mrs. Elvira Wago, and to all the individual donors that donate money to this project. Very, very much appreciated. Finally, to all the hardworking staff and volunteers of the Essex Region Conservation and to the Conservation Foundation. This facility is truly an investment in our community and to help ensure the town of Essex is a destination for years to come. It will help us tell the story of the community's past and expanding accessibility so all of us can experience and enjoy the homestead. The Town of Essex Tourism Hub will also serve as a gateway to our visitors, from our award-winning wineries to extensive cycling infrastructure, from the beautiful beach of Colchester to our growing agritourism sector. We have many stories to share, and this is a perfect place to engage and introduce visitors that our community has to offer. We have a lot to offer here. And just a little story. I just grew up down the street from here, and this facility goes back many, many years ago. The day the Foxes owned it, I can remember walking along here. I'll tell you a story, walking along here, and the elderly Mr. Fox come out one day, and he said, "Larry, take this home." He hands me a big jug of wine, homemade wine. I'll never forget it. It was about 8 or 10 years old. So I go back a long ways here. So today, I'm excited to see this project happen, and it's a reality, and thanks once again for everybody that was involved. It's a great, great, great investment for our community. Thank you, and thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Snidely. Tourism is one of the cornerstone industries upon which our region thrives. The Town of Essex Tourism Hub is in the Heritage and Conservation Centre will serve as an important conduit to encourage guests to experience as many of the amazing locations and destinations as they can while visiting our local area. As the tourism industry recovers from the impacts of COVID-19, the importance of this role cannot be overstated, and we are most grateful for your support. Eric Kazmierczuk, MP for the riding of Windsor-Tecumseh and former IRCA chair, was a champion for this project as the Government of Canada granted $600,000 to this project. The Stephanie and Barry Zuckelman Foundation made the lead donation to the Heritage Conservation Centre, and then were so inspired by the project, they also made the final donation to sponsor the Stephanie and Barry Zuckelman Foundation Creative Commons. Neither were able to join us today. However, they have sent along messages that will be shared by IRCA's CAO and the Executive Director of the Conservation Foundation, Mr. Tim Burney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's a beautiful edifice, and we're blessed with some beautiful weather today. It's my honor to share with you statements sent by two individuals who were instrumental in the creation of this building that we celebrate here today. First, our most sincere appreciation to the Government of Canada, and Eric Kazmierczuk, MP, Windsor-Tecumseh, and our former IRCA chair, who has sent along this message. Much has changed since we first announced the federal government's $600,000 contribution towards the new Heritage and Conservation Centre back in February 2020. IRCA's commitment to preserve and showcase our region's history in form of our natural coastal processes and our natural beauty is stronger than ever. For generations to come, people of all ages and abilities in Windsor-Essex County will enjoy this sustainable and accessible space for culture, education, and conservation. On behalf of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Economic Development Minister Melanie Joly, and the Government of Canada, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to the Essex Region Conservation Authority, the Essex Region Conservation Foundation, and the many partners and donors who have all pulled together and made this project come to life that we celebrate today. Thank you, Eric Kazmierczuk, our former chair and MP from Tecumseh, Windsor. We're also extremely grateful to acknowledge Stephanie and Barry Zuckelman Foundation. As Madam Chair has identified, they were lead donors to creation of the Barry and Stephanie Zuckelman Foundation Creative Commons, and we couldn't be more grateful. They weren't able to join us today as Tanya has identified, but they sent along a few comments. The Stephanie and Barry Zuckelman Foundation is proud to be a party to such an important project for our community and our county and our region. The Heritage and Conservation Centre will provide a unique opportunity to educate our community as to the importance of our ecosystem, our environment, our watershed, and our need to protect and preserve it all. We want to thank everyone who has contributed both monetarily and with their hard work and space and vision to create such a wonderful space. Once again, our most sincere thank you to the Government of Canada, Stephanie and Barry Zuckelman Foundation, and to every single person who's made a contribution to this incredible legacy project, which will help educate and inform learners of all ages for generations to come. I also want to thank my staff who've busted their backs most recently dealing with some weather, dealing with some of our natural beauty, our friends the fish flies who descended upon us. I also want to acknowledge our contractors who worked extremely hard with us on bringing this all to a resolve. We are so grateful to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim, and such a big thank you again to IRIC and the Government of Canada and Mr. and Mrs. Zuckelman, who have been incredible supporters of this project. Before we welcome our next speaker, I'd like to recognize Michael Kopchuk and Mirko Sanji of Gulf Construction, who worked vigilantly through some very challenging times to bring this Heritage and Conservation Centre to life. Raise your hands, gentlemen. Good day. Thank you for joining us as well. I'd also like to extend my appreciation to of Lakeshore Landscaping for their generous donation of landscape services to create this magnificent entrance to the building. Also, special recognition to Tim Burney, our CAO, Kevin Money, IRCA's Director of Conservation Services, Shelley McMullen, Director of Finance, and Chris Ives, Curator Education Coordinator. As Tim mentioned, they all worked diligently, and this has come to fruition just beautifully. Their collective leadership was instrumental in ensuring the beautiful building achieved a glorious result of a lot of hard work and dedication that we celebrate here today, and thank you all. Following the Government of Canada's generous announcement of funding, the Essex Region Conservation Foundation, in partnership with the Volunteering Campaign Cabinet, committed to raise an additional $600,000 to match the government grant. I'm delighted to welcome Claire Wales, President of the Essex Region Foundation, to provide an update on this commitment.
Thank you, Tanya. Reflecting back on the last 18 months, it's been an incredible, exciting, and challenging journey to bring us to this grand opening celebration today. The world has changed so much since February 14th, 2020, when we gathered here with MP Kuzmierczuk to celebrate the Government of Canada's grant of $600,000 towards this project. But in spite of all the challenges, we were able to come together to exceed the fundraising targets that were set and created this beautiful and accessible Heritage and Conservation Centre. We continue to be so thankful to the Stephanie and Barry Zuckelman Foundation, which made the leadership commitment of $100,000 to create the Stephanie and Barry Zuckelman Foundation Welcome Centre as part of this new Heritage and Conservation Centre. And just weeks ago, Mr. and Mrs. Zuckelman continued their extraordinary generosity with the sponsorship of the Stephanie and Barry Zuckelman Creative Commons, the main interior learning space in this beautiful facility. Alex, we are so grateful to the Total Foundation for your leadership in creating the Total Foundation outdoor classroom and wildlife viewing area. As we've seen over this past year and a half, people are learning in unique ways, and the importance of nature and the outdoors in education is more important than ever. To you, Mayor Snidely, and to the town of Essex, thank you for your incredible support and contribution to the Town of Essex Tourism Hub, which will be a wonderful feature that benefits visitors and businesses in our region and is also important to our collective economic recovery. Thank you to the Friends of John R. Park Homestead, the late Mrs. Elvira Weigel, and so many other supporters of the project. Thank you all for your incredibly generous donations, which have enabled this dream to become a reality. On behalf of the Essex Region Conservation Foundation,
I'd like to extend our heartfelt appreciation to the dozens of supporters who collectively raised nearly $775,000 to exceed the match intended for the Government of Canada's generous grant. Thank you, thank you. And another thing to remember is that when we received that grant, we were told we had 1 year to gather the money and to create the building. And look what we've done. What a tremendous thing that we've done. And thank you to Tim, and thank you to the IRCA staff, and thank you to Danielle and to Kevin and to all the others for all the hard work that you've done to make this a reality. It's beautiful. I'd like to take a quick moment to acknowledge the volunteer campaign cabinet who were so integral in working with these generous donors. Thank you to Lynn Baker, Leslie Basili, Lisa Bauer, Janet Coben, Bev Sear, Amanda Gelman, and Kate Rosser-Davies for your wonderful efforts. For all of you who have contributed to this project and are watching from home, thank you too. We can't wait to welcome you to the Heritage and Conservation Centre in person. In fact, over the rest of today, supporters have registered for their personal tours, and we look forward to opening to the general public in compliance with provincial limits this weekend. While there are a few finishing touches that remain to be completed, we're anxious to open this beautiful new centre to allow as many people as possible to enjoy it over the summer months. Once again, to everyone who has demonstrated their support for the Heritage and Conservation Centre, our biggest thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire. On behalf of all the students, tourists, guests, and businesses who will benefit from this new Heritage and Conservation Centre, please let me thank you, the Foundation, the Heritage Centre Campaign Cabinet, Stephanie Barry Zuckelman Foundation, the Toldo Foundation, the Town of Essex, and all the amazing donors whose incredible support allowed this magnificent centre to be built. We thank you again. Before we cut the ribbon in celebration, I'd like to conclude where we began, with an acknowledgement. We acknowledge that locally and nationally Indigenous people are grieving and are saddened by the recent discoveries. In June, Canadians celebrate National Indigenous History Month to honor the history, heritage, and diversity of Indigenous peoples in Canada. It is also an opportunity to recognize the strength of present-day Indigenous communities. Our obligation is not just restricted to 1 month of each year. We are committed to ensuring that while we interpret settler and natural heritage at this site, that we will also continue to share the fulsome history of our region, including truths about the impacts of colonization on Indigenous people. We will also continue our work to be good allies going forward. At this time, I would like to invite all the speakers, along with Lisa Bauer, President of the Friends of John R. Park Homestead, Lynn Baker, Chair of the John R. Park Homestead Advisory Board, and Chris Ives, the Homestead Curator and Education Coordinator, to please help yourself to these pioneer-era scissors to cut the ribbon in celebration of the opening of the new Heritage and Conservation Centre.
So if all the speakers would be so kind as to grab their